I'm going to assume that you all did your homework, but I'm going to give you right now 2 minutes to add anything to your bucket list that comes up right now because you have more clarity on your values. Maybe when you're looking at those values, you say, hey, but these things, for those of you that don't get the bucket list or didn't see the instructions or chose not to do that, your bucket list is the list of things you want to do, be, have, become, experience, achieve, whatever you want, before you die. Okay, before you die. It comes from the English, I don't know how many hundreds of years ago, when they used to hang a lot of people. And they didn't have it simple. They didn't have it complicated. They had it simple. They put people on a bucket, tie their neck, and then just kick the bucket. So that's where the expression comes for bucket list. Now you understand what it is? Yeah? So basically is you make the list of things you want to do before you kick the bucket. They used to kick the bucket in order to, make people move to another place. So it's not a nice thing, but that's how it's called. Okay, it's called the bucket list. And the idea is that those are the things you want to be, do, have, become, experience, achieve before you die. Okay? I mentioned that in the instructions. I mean, it's good to have a big list. It's good to have an exciting list. It doesn't have to be huge things, but those are the things you want to take off before you die. And all I'm asking you right now to do is to take 2 more minutes and think if because of the values that you realize right now or you become more aware, there are maybe things that you say, hey, in order to experience totally this freedom, well, this is one thing I want to add to my bucket list, for example. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes for those that didn't do your homework for whatever reason. You have 2 minutes to rush and create 100 items on your bucket list or as many as you can, and we're going to work with that, okay? So it's for work. So 2 minutes, guys. Before we're going to work with that, we had I told you I think that this needs to be written big letters on one of the first pages. Okay, the quality of your life is totally directed to the quality of your questions. This is another lesson that I think you should have it, or a question if you want. We're in the question is what would you do? Write it here. What would you do? And you might want to just put it in big letters on a full page. What would you do if you knew? If you knew you couldn't fail. Thank you. It's a good question to ask. What would you do in life if you knew that you couldn't fail? Because fears are one of the things that stops us from doing what is important. And the things, when in our lives we start losing our fears? Yeah, start facing that. Very good, very good. When death comes close, those fears become less important, right? So as we get older, we're becoming more courageous in a way. But many times we don't have the energy to do all the things. So it might be a good idea to die a little early. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Okay? So the whole point of the bucket list is keeping this question in mind. And I will give you a chance to work with your bucket list and make it bigger or more interesting maybe in the coming moments. But keep that moment in mind, keep that question, in mind. What would you do if you knew that you couldn't fail, which means there's no fears? Dream without limitations, okay? And the point is to stop asking how. Many of those things that you put on your bucket list or you decide not to put on your bucket list for whatever reason is because you don't have a clue how to make it. Or you don't think it's possible for you, so you don't know the how. The how is not important. The what is important. The what is important. The why you want to do that, which is another thing, is very important. The how, usually it's very, very easy after that. When you have a very strong what, very strong why, the how is much easier. So the idea for now at least is to dream. Dream big, to write, to create. Just put it on a list for you. And what we're going to do is, now you have a list. Some of you have 100 pieces of the list. Some of you just have a few. How many of you, when you did that, it was quite tough after a while. You know, you managed to do the 20, 30, 40, but at one point it became quite tough. Okay? How many of you, when you wrote some things there, you start to feel uncomfortable about that? And okay, how many of you started making excuses why it's probably not going to happen? Okay, that's all great when you notice. And next time you're going to, when you're listening to that sentence in your mind, you're just going to add a question mark. Why am I feeling uncomfortable with that? Why is that scary for me? Why am I making an excuse already for something that I want to do before I die? Okay, just ask those questions and take the time to find the answer. I don't know the answers for you, and the answer for each person in the room will be different. But you need to ask those questions because it will tell you everything about yourself. Everything. And most of the time when you figure out why are you putting this limitation on yourself, why is it so difficult to find more than 20 things you want to do before you die? Why can't you come up with 6,000? Why weren't you so excited that I told you, put 100 and you didn't go and continue that and doing it? I gave you a week. Probably in a week, if you would sit every day for 10 hours, you probably would come with 1,000 or more. Okay? I gave you even resources for that on the internet. Okay? I just bought, from one of the resources that I gave you, I bought 18 PDFs. They had 18,000. I don't know if any one of you took that. It was in one of the links that I sent you. 18,000 ideas for a bucket list. And, I'm working with bucket lists for many, 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 many years. So I have a huge bucket list and I'm crossing them like crazy. And still there were so many things that it's not just that, I didn't know about that place to travel or that place. That's, of course. But I had totally different ideas that I just never thought in that direction. Most of them are very easy to do. Very easy, and possible. I never thought about them. So those are questions. Why don't we do that all the time? This is going to make your life a lot easier. Not easier, that's not the right word, but a lot more exciting, isn't it? And look, bucket list, right now we're talking about the end of your life, but the end of your life is when? Who knows, right? It can be, maybe tonight. Right? So, but that makes bucket list very interesting because you have the bucket list for the rest of your life, which you don't know when it happens, but then you start prioritizing your bucket list and you say, what is my bucket list for this year? Right? And what is my bucket list for maybe this month? And maybe what is my bucket list for today? And it doesn't have to be huge, but you better have a bucket list for today. At least this thing, if I die today, and maybe just picking up the phone in the break and telling your child that you love them. That can be on your bucket list for today. Let's do one of these. So we go back. It's now 12:12, so it's a little bit earlier than an hour. But write down your mark for happiness right now, between 0 to 10. Okay, between 0 to 10. And if, again, it's different than the one before, significantly, then try to figure out what made it this way. Okay, I'm going to give you a minute for that. So you go back to the first page, give yourself a 0 to 10 for happiness. And if it's significantly above or below the last one, then try to figure out what made it. Right? Everybody has that? Yep. Wonderful. Anybody happy? Okay, a few people. Anybody unhappy? All right. Ver just gave me in the break, when you were working, the name of the book of Viktor Frankl is Man's Search for Meaning, like we said. And she also went over and collected a few quotes from that, which I think one is appropriate for now. I might use the others throughout the weekend, but one is appropriate for now. Viktor Frankl is writing, remember, he's a Holocaust survivor, was in the camps, lost his family, his young wife and everything, and was still could keep himself, I don't know if to call it happy, but keep himself on, following his meaning, his purpose, and actually went out and make a big change in the world as a result of that. And one of the things he says is that live as if you were living, you don't need to write it down, but just listen to it because it's interesting. Live as if you were living a second time. And this time, and as though you have acted wrongly the first time. Do you understand the point? Yeah. So live this life as if you're living it the second time, as if you made it wrong the first time. Okay, so make it right this time. And bucket list should be reflecting that. And we're going to keep on working with that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. The movie that is talking about is about time, right? Yeah, about time. Yeah? Okay. So here's another movie recommendation. I gave you the bucket list. I hope you watched it. I hope you watched it the 10th time if it was something that you'd watched before, because there's always something to see there. We just watched it again for I don't know how many times, and Verd saw some stuff that we both of us never saw before. I'm going to give you another recommendation for a movie that most of you didn't see, and you should see when we're talking about that. And it's called About Time. About Time. It's an English movie. It's a small movie. It didn't make any big, yeah, it is a good movie. But the point is the message, and you understand what I mean, right? Okay. So watch the movie. Okay, About Time. It's a comedy. It's an English comedy, so it's fun to watch. But the message towards the end is exactly what we're looking for. All right. So that was a little movie recommendation, and we're going to keep on asking questions. Okay. So here's a question to you about your bucket list or about your dream list, about the things that makes you or would make you happy if you will do them. And when was the last time? The question is, when was the last time that one of your dreams came true? Okay, so let's say if you had a bucket list before, if you did have a bucket list, then when was the last time that you could cross one of those? But if you didn't have, when was the last time that one of your dreams, real dreams, came true? And what was it? So just give yourself a second to think, when was the last time that one of your dreams came true, and what was it? Just write it down, so we have an awareness about that. Okay, so the next question is, what one dream, one thing from your bucket list you'll commit to achieving, to completing, to tick within the next 3 months? What one item on your bucket list you commit to make a reality in the next 12 months? And the next question, what one item on your bucket list you commit to make a reality in the next 3 years? I'm asking you, the next thing I'm asking you to write down is, what are you need to look at one of those three items that you wrote for yourself, either one for the one for the next 3 months, or the one for the next year, or the one for the next 3 years. You choose one of them, I don't care which, and you're choosing one action that will get you closer to that you're willing to commit to do today. Just ask yourself 0 to 10 how happy I am, and write it down. Everything can be a meditation. Everything can be a way to become aware. Am I as happy as I could be? Am I at least experiencing joy? If not, then choose. Because joy is something that you can do by demand, and we're going to talk about it during the weekend. But you can do that without me talking about it. Just figure out what you're doing in a moment, and then make the choice. Anyway, so that was one thing. The second thing, make the bucket list smaller. Make it a bucket list for this year. Okay, for this year, by the end of this year, not by the end of 12 months, but by the end of this year, because many of us are doing an evaluation of the year at 31st of December or 1st of January. So just choose for yourself some items that you're willing to commit to achieve this year, because those are the items that will make you excited, that will make you passionate, and will make you ask questions. You know, okay, I want to do that, but maybe I don't have enough money right now to do that. All right, so let's take a look at my values. Maybe this is more important for me than going on vacation that I planned, then I can use the money for that. Or maybe it's more important for me this than, you know, another value, then I can work more hours for that, or whatever it is. You understand what I'm saying? So by forcing yourself to start ticking off items from your bucket list already now, already for this coming year, you're going to be more in this aliveness, because how many of you agree that this list, if you will make it, if you don't have to work, if you don't have to take care of your kids or whatever it is, you can just pretty much do a lot of those items, how many of you would be, you know, it will increase your happiness level. Okay? So let's do something about it. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay? So I'm trying to do that for every day, something. And it doesn't have to be big. But I'm trying to do for every day. For now, I'm not asking you to put 365 or whatever it is that left until the end of the year. But a few items that are important for me from this list, make them for this year.